Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright people, midweek report time, as we do. Oh boy, this is going to be a doozy of a one, isn't it? I had fully intended on having this week as kind of just a preview. I'm still going to do it, but preview the Triple G Canelo fight. Boy, has a lot happened in the last few days. I mean, I'm talking about fights potentially being cancelled, fights potentially being announced, fights definitely being cancelled, like Lara versus Wood, Canelo Triple G, other things. It's been a doozy of a week. It really has. I mean, I am eating this week from all the news. I really am. So, let's start it first with the news that first broke. We'll do it in chronological order from since Monday, basically. So, first thing, Chris Eubank Sr. clearly is pulling his son out of the fight. Now, I planned on doing a follow-up video to the original video I made, where I was breaking the news on that. Have the thumbnail, but to be honest, I just haven't had the time. What with work, training, live streams. I mean, this is probably going to have a kind of cut down the middle, if you know what I mean. Not really a cut, but it's kind of going to fade into another part because I'm getting as much in as I can get in now. I have to hop on a live at 7:30, quite closer to 20 to 8. That could go an hour. And then I have to upload this and maybe finish this off. So there's a lot of things going on. I actually have to take tomorrow off because there's stuff on tomorrow that I need to be home for. So there's a lot going on. So there's an awful lot. So, I didn't get a chance to make that follow-up video. But the fact of the matter is that Eubank Sr., when I reported that originally and I read through it, I was saying, okay, look, he's looking at the catch weight, saying that's a concern. But then he mentioned the fact that he lost, tragically, it was very tragic, that he lost his son, Sebastian, about a year ago. And that was very sudden. And Chris Eubank Sr., I get mixed up sometimes with the two of them. Chris Eubank Sr., he's great at playing the villain. He is. But deep down, you can tell that Chris Eubank Sr. has a heart. He's got a good heart. You see the emotion. Even, I don't like Piers Morgan at all, but I did watch the life story that Eubank Sr. had with Piers Morgan, and you can tell that even now, nearly 30 years removed, that it still deeply affects him what happened to Michael Watson. Deeply. Obviously losing a son is also tragic, and the fact that Eubank Sr. has had to go through those trials and tribulations in his career, he obviously doesn't want his son to have to face what he's faced, or potentially, worse still, be the Michael Watson in this event. So as far as I'm concerned, Chris Eubank Sr. is looking out for his son's well-being. He's not trying to make this fight a publicity stunt. He's not trying to do any of that. From the quotes he's been making and just seeing him as a character, I think he's looking out for his son. He's his son's best interest. And a lot's being made about the catch weight. I don't necessarily think the catch weight is really the issue. I think it's more the rehydration clause. I don't mind catch weight fights as long as they're not world title fights per se. They definitely can work in certain equations, non-title fights, of course. But I have a serious issue with a rehydration clause. I really do. And especially one like this, which is clearly going to be very tough. I mean, let's just put this in context, okay? Eubank Jr. is going to have to weigh in at middleweight, 157 pounds middleweight. Essentially, the next day, he's going to be weighing in at super middleweight. He's going to have to almost make 2 weigh-ins. So he's not going to be able to fully rehydrate, and God knows if there's any limits to what he could weigh when he gets in the ring. At the end of the day, he's not going to be able to fully hydrate. It can take sometimes up to 48 hours for the fluid around the brain to recover when you've dehydrated yourself to such an extent. And of course, we know that when that little layer is away from the brain, it makes the brain, it has a better chance of hitting up again the skull, which ultimately will lead to brain damage. And I think that Eubank Sr. is well aware of that, and he's looking out for his son's best interest. And at the end of the day, me and Dale, Blue Collar Sport TV, we spoke last night and hit the nail on the head. He did, because the British Boxing Board of Control, they really shouldn't have sanctioned this with the rehydration clause. I mean, this is the boxing board who have stopped fights Like, for example, Jean-Real Casimiro, when he was trying to cut weight, he was found in a steam room in the run-up to the Paul Butler fight. They said, not going to happen. You're cutting too much weight. So they have a problem with a fighter cutting too much weight who will be able to rehydrate fully, no rehydration clause. They won't put that fight on, but they're happy to put a fight on where one guy is going to have to come in at a weight and then is only allowed to rehydrate so much. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. We need consistency is the word. That's what we need. I mean, like, how can they look at one fight and say, well, he's cutting too much weight, not going to happen, you can't have that fight. But this fighter, oh, he's cutting weight and he's going to have a rehydration clause. Oh, yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead, we'll sanction that. At the end of the day, if it is as light as some people are saying, it's between 8 to 10 pounds, I mean, that's nothing really in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I think that could potentially be a big issue. Could be a very big issue. And I think Eubank Sr. is genuinely looking out for his son's best interest in this fight. I don't think that it's any ploy for a better deal or it's to get more eyes on this. I think he's genuinely looking out for his son's best interest. I really do. And would the zone cave and just say, right, look, go on, we'll get rid of the rehydration clause, make 157 pounds, but we won't have the rehydration clause? Because at the end of the day, they need this fight. As far as I'm concerned, if you take Conor Benn on his own without Chris Eubank Jr., he's not going to be able to do a pay-per-view, in my opinion anyway, and certainly not on a couple of weeks' notice. You just couldn't do it. Like, and you'd struggle to get an opponent. And as well as that, like, Conor Benn may not be the biggest welterweight in the world, but at the end of the day, he's not cutting weight. So what would they do? Would they turn around and say, well, we're going to make a welterweight fight and have Conor Benn have to cut an extra couple of God knows how many pounds in short space of time? Because bear in mind, he's not actually doing any weight cut. Roughly, probably not anyway, because he's coming in at middleweight. He's never fought middleweight. He's not even a big welterweight. But having to do a very short, quick weight cut could leave him depleted. And you wouldn't really want to risk him against maybe a guy at 154 pounds or, God forbid, 160, even if they weren't amazing. It's so much bigger. So we'll watch this space with that. You know, we really will watch it. Now, obviously, we've seen Chris Eubank Jr. He uploaded a video of himself. I think he was eating more fast food. So that could indicate that, you know, it's on, or it could be an old clip. We just don't know. Now, Callum Sauerland came out and said, we don't have a contract with Eubank Sr. We have a contract with Chris Eubank Jr. and the fight is absolutely on. Now, we haven't heard much since then. Obviously, we did see Eubank Jr. eating some what looked like fast food in a restaurant, but we haven't heard anything yet from it. Now, I do find it strange that we're in a situation where we're only a couple of weeks away from this fight and we don't even have an undercard. I do find that a bit strange, and you know, there's several reasons for that. It could be that the zone, maybe they're struggling to find card fillers, because a lot of the guys like Lerone Richards, your Liam Smiths, who else? You know, I'm trying to think of some of the other guys who've lost. Felix Cash, guys like that who'd be good undercard fillers without really being the main guy. They're not with Matchroom, or they're on bad terms with Matchroom as Felix Cash is, so we shall wait and see there. Andy Ruiz calling out Deontay Wilder, looking for a fight with him. I'll be frank, I think it's pretty much inevitable that if Deontay Wilder beats Robert Helenius, that we're getting Ruiz probably early next year. It kind of depends on how easy Deontay Wilder has with Helenius, and what I mean by that is in a sense of if he doesn't get cut or take a bit of damage or hurt his right hand again. If he's good to go and it's an easy enough job, we could have it early 2023. I'd still make Wilder favourite in that fight. Vasily Lomachenko will return to the ring in a lightweight clash against Jermaine Ortiz, October 29th in NYC. So interesting. I'm dying to see how Lomachenko looks. Hopefully he looks good. I think that there's definitely still a lot of miles left in Lomachenko. He definitely proved me wrong. I thought after he lost to Teofimo Lopez, maybe we were starting to see the end of Lomachenko, but the Nakatani fight and the Comey fight, they said to me there's plenty left in Lomachenko. Now, Dominic Ingle posted a clip of Kell Brook sparring with the caption, Can Brook 2. Now that's interesting. Dominic Ingle posted that on Instagram. Now, Kell Brook, as we all know, retired a couple of months ago and Amir Khan followed suit. Would they really run it back? Really? I mean, I'd be very surprised if they did. I mean, it was a one-sided fight. So why would you run it back? There wouldn't be any interest in it, or very little, nowhere near as much interest as there would have been, if it had been a very, very competitive fight in Kell Brook. Just Amir Khan's ahead on the scorecards, but the chin let him down, that sort of way. It wasn't like that. He was just comprehensively beaten by Kell Brook. So watch the space there with Kell Brook. Is he having second thoughts? Is he deciding maybe there's still something left in him? We'll wait and see. Now, obviously, news broke the other day. Well, actually, it was Monday evening that Anthony Joshua had entered the WBC rankings, number 6. I mean, 2 back-to-back losses. He hasn't fought a WBC sanctioned fight in 7 years, and he enters at number 6. I mean, explain that to me, someone. Please make that make sense. Either way, he entered the rankings. And then the next day, it was stated that AJ, and with his managerial company 258 Management, they confirmed that they agreed a deal on Friday, but due to the death of the Queen, it was agreed to halt all communication. They're waiting on a response. He said that it was December 3rd is the date they agreed, potentially in Cardiff in the Principality Stadium. 60-40 split for Fury. If AJ wins, then it's a rematch, 50-50. And then Fury demands the date of December 3rd. There should be no issue with DAZN and BT Sport. Apparently, they are seemingly willing to do a joint venture, so it'd be good for DAZN, it'd be good for BT Sport. Eddie Hearn went on to say that AJ wants all that smoke. He also said that, look, they obviously with Eddie Hearn being a promoter and obviously with AJ having his own management company, they tried to negotiate. And he says here, which is what he told Matchroom Boxing, we tried to negotiate, we were told take it or leave it, and we took it. We expect a contract in the next couple of days. Hopefully we can move forward. There's no reason not to now. And also, the situation with DAZN, BT Sport, Eddie Hearn stated, a conversation between BT Sport and DAZN in the UK, plus ESPN, DAZN in the US. He said it's in everybody's interest to make the fight take place. It's looking good, It genuinely, it's looking good. Now, again, I have to go back and just basically give my 2 cents on this. Now, I know I've spoken about it at length in several videos. I'm not going to go and basically do a video in a video and talk about why I think AJ should or shouldn't take this, etc., etc. All I can say is that for me personally, I would like to see AJ not take this fight just to make the most of his ability. I did listen to an interview, I was listening to Hatman's video on the way into work this morning, and he recommended a Barry McGuigan interview, and I said I'd have a listen. I'm not the biggest Barry McGuigan fan, to be honest with you, in terms of he has a good boxing brain, but I've just never really, something about McGuigan's never really warmed to him. But this interview was brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And he basically said get rid of the lot of them. Get rid of the lot of them, get rid of the whole team. Now, I don't necessarily know if I'd get rid of Robert Garcia per se. I think Robert Garcia has potential to do good with AJ there, but AJ needs to get, and again, obviously, if they're fighting Tyson Fury, I'm just saying this hypothetically, in a hypothetical scenario, he would need to get his arse over to the US, train Robert Garcia, be around people like Bam Rodriguez, one of these young, hungry young fighters. And, that could have a way of, rubbing off on him, If you think about Triple G, when Triple G was being trained by Abel Sanchez and Murat Gassiev was a contender at the time, Murat Gassiev was openly saying he was looking at Triple G as his inspiration, even though Triple G is a middleweight, Gassiev is a cruiserweight, or he was at the time. It helped bring him along. And I wonder if, in a way, obviously Triple G was at that time, he was still very much an avoided fighter. But I wonder if I know Murat Gassiev, I think he's younger than me, I know that. He doesn't look it, but he looks like Murat Gassiev. You never think he was in his late 20s. He looks like he's in his mid-30s. Nevertheless, having a young, hungry lion like Gassiev in the camp back then with Triple G, I'm sure would have brought him along as well. So I think it could do great for Anthony Joshua to do that, personally. But him taking this fight, long and the short of it, Fury to win every day of the week, twice on a Sunday. I just can't see on it another. And as well as that, you got to factor in AJ's confidence is at its lowest. Fury is going to play up to that never end in the press conferences. Probably the first kind of insult he'll chuck is, Are you going to have a cry in the ring after this loss, AJ? Are you going to throw your belts away or my belts away after this loss? Are you going to do that? Something like that, to really just drum it home to AJ. Like, the world has seen what happened there, and we're not going to let you forget about it. I honestly can't see anything other than the Fury winning this. I really can't. It's... AJ would need... I'm recording this part of Midweek Report after I went live with Joe Stunner Boxing. Channel's there on screen. Give it a look. Link will be in the description. And I said it's almost like roles are reversed with the Fury Wilder situation, if you think about it, because when Tyson Fury came back and he fought Safiri and Pianetta, he didn't look good in them fights. Obviously, it's slightly different. Fury was coming back after losing an awful lot of weight, alcohol and drug abuse and inactivity. But Wilder must have thought, I've got an easy win here. I'm going to take this guy and just knock him out. It's easy. It's an easy fight. And I get the impression that Fury is looking at AJ maybe the same way. Not in a sense of... Wilder, it was more physical, but with AJ, I'm sure he's looking at him thinking he's mentally done. His confidence is destroyed. He's lost back-to-back fights. This could be like taking candy from a baby. And it's kind of similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar kind of scenario, if you get me. But long and the short of it, I think that Joshua Fury will happen next, but I don't think that Joshua's going to win. I think Fury's going to beat the crap out of Joshua personally. Now, a fight that was coming up that I'm really disappointed now is not happening, which is Lee Wood and Mauricio Lara. It's been reportedly pulled. It is off because Lee Wood made a statement about it. So that fight will be rescheduled. The Nottingham show will go ahead with Maxie Hughes and Kid Galahad headlining. I like Maxie Hughes. I've had him on the channel before a couple of years ago. He's a great guy, but God almighty, that fight right there just doesn't pull my interest. It doesn't do anything for me. And at the end of the day, we haven't had an undercard announced for AJ or for Benn Eubank, if in fact that fight happens. I really don't understand why they couldn't just get the fighters to just fight on that. The rest of the fighters just fight on that. I really don't understand it, because I think that makes more sense, because I just see that fight being not the best. The rest of the undercard, who was on it? Rihanna Dixon was on it. You've obviously got Hannah Rankin versus Terry Harper. Hopefully Hannah Rankin wins that fight. I'm pulling for Hannah Rankin in that fight. I've had Hannah Rankin on the channel as well, and she's super. And that's it, really. It's not a great card. Who else is on that card? There's someone else. I can't remember now. But yeah, I would have just moved that card 3 weeks forward and just put it on the undercard of Benn Eubank. But we'll see how it goes. Obviously, Frank Warren is breathing a huge sigh of relief, probably, because Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara would have been an absolute war. Would have been a great fight. Would have been an entertaining fight. Fireworks from the opening bell. Pretty much be amazed if there was no knockout in that fight. And it just plugged at the heart. It just plugged at the interest of fans. Yeah, Maxie Hughes versus Kid Galahad doesn't. And I'd much rather watch Joe Joyce versus Joseph Parker and the whole undercard. And it's on BT Sport and watch that. Would I do a watch along? Probably not, but I'll still watch the Parker Joyce fight. In terms of other fights that are being announced, it's reportedly agreed Troy Williamson versus Josh Kelly for the British super welterweight world title. Williamson obviously is having a tune-up fight this Saturday against David Benitez. I was going to say, I was like, Benavidez? No, Benitez. This Saturday, Sauerland has revealed. So, Kelly versus Troy Williamson. Yeah. I'm going to be frank, lads. If I was in charge of Josh Kelly, he's not looked good the last few fights. He really hasn't. Since that Avanesian loss. Look, I never bought into the hype with Josh Kelly. Nothing against him personally. He seems like a cool guy, but it just looked like people were falling in love with the flashiness rather than looking for actual issues that are there in his game, which are there. You can see them. And it just felt like people were just looking at the flashiness of Kelly and they never looked at the issues. And Adam Boot, I think, should shoulder some of the blame. He really should, because at the end of the day, Adam Boot fell in love with Kelly's athleticism as well. And Adam Boot should have looked at the flaws, because you see even Kelly's wins. There's flaws there. Now, people could say that about any fight, but the flaws that were there with Kelly were there to see. They were big flaws that should have been worked on. They were never worked on. So when he stepped up and fought Avanesian, I mean, at the end of the day, it surprised me how bad he capitulated so quickly in the Avanesian fight. That did surprise me. I expected Avanesian to win that fight, but I didn't expect Kelly to capitulate the way he did. That did surprise, so quickly as well. That surprised me. And the way he's not looked the same since he came back has been crazy. And Williamson's had some shaky fights. Williamson's a very strange one. He's had fights where he's looked devastated, like against Ted Cheeseman. But then he's had some, like Mason Cartwright. That was a close fight. That was a very close fight. He had another one. Kieran Smith, I think is his name. Now, he knocked him out devastatingly. Troy Williamson did. But he was having a real rough time in that fight before he got the knockout. So Williamson's had some fights where he's looked very good, very devastating. But I still think he's got the beating of Josh Kelly. And I would be personally, I'd give Josh Kelly another 3 or 4 fights before I'd step him up to even British level. Seriously, he needs to rebuild. I think he needs to get rid of Adam Boot. I think that Josh Kelly doesn't have the punching power or the arm length to fight the way he does. He needs a more conventional style. In my opinion. Other news, Ken Shira will face Hiroto Kawaguchi. I hope I'm saying that name right. That's going to be a unification for the WBA, WBC light flyweight world titles November 1st in Japan. Jonathan Gonzalez will defend his WBO light flyweight title against Soki Ayota. Probably saying these names wrong. But Ken Shira versus Hirota Kawagashi. I love that fight. Ken Shira lost. Now I know it says Ken Shira Tajiri, but for all intents and purposes, it's called Ken Shira. That loss he had, I can't remember the guy's name now, but that surprised me. But he avenged it very soundly in the rematch. Ken Shira has been one of them fighters where, now we're going on the top of the little guys here. I do like the little guys as well, as many of you will know. Ken Shira has been one of them fighters where he's had some kind of lukewarm performances, then he's had some devastating performances, but I like the little guys. I think that fight's going to be absolutely lit. It's on in Japan on the 1st of November. What day is that? 1st of November. It's Tuesday. They put some cards on some strange days, don't they, in Japan? Like, never mind the Saturday or the Friday. It's like, let's have it on it. What day will we have it on Tuesday? Okie dokie. Fair enough. I mean, okay, fair enough. Frank Warren was on TalkSport earlier today about AJ Fury. He said, everyone wants it. There aren't any obstacles, so very quickly we can get this over the line. But until it's signed, it's not on. The deal is 90% done. What counts is 10%. We've got to get that sorted out. Don't be saying that, Frank, please. Let's just get this over the line. He asked, there any reason why he can't see this fight happening? No, for once we're all on the same page. There's a great will here by everyone, and I think it will happen. Until we've got it signed, we've got nothing. With Joshua's back in sparring Richard Riakporhe now, so he's already, back in the camp. And that was so he's back. Well, so Angel Fernandez trains Richard Riakporhe, so obviously he's sticking around with Fernandez. He's not going anywhere there. Does that mean then that Robert Garcia has been well and truly binned? I'm just asking the question, because I would have thought that if AJ wanted to stick around with Robert Garcia, he would have planned on going back to Garcia, but obviously he's with Riakporhe with Fernandez. So let's see, is it just going to be Fernandez now moving forward? Let's see. Now, some news on Triller, because as you may remember, Triller were doing some bizarre fights. They were doing real, just weird fights. They were overpaying their fighters massively, but there was a lot of issues with the Kovalev Pulev fight. And the undercard, as far as I believe, a lot of the fighters weren't paid. Well, shock horror, this will come as no surprise. Triller are reportedly done with boxing. No plans for future events. That's what happens when the money dries up. So no Triller events. I didn't mind Triller per se. They were just kind of, how do I say it? They let their hair down. Even on the commentary. There was none of this whole legs are shaky at him. Real media kind of, it was just, they let their hair down more. But yeah, I mean, like, Stevie Wonder could have seen that bubble was going to burst sooner or later. I'll leave it with this. Charles Martin on Anthony Joshua. I need a shot at redemption. I want to fight him so badly before I retire, just to show him he never fought the real me. I gave AJ a shot at the title, and that changed his life forever. It's time for him to return the favour. Yeah. So, you still walk this earth like a god? You just step right over. Charles Martin versus AJ. I mean, I wouldn't pick. There you go. Eddie Hearn, if you don't want to fight Tyson Fury, there's a comeback opponent. Do the Charles Martin rematch. Give AJ the chance to relive that knockout all over again, and in AJ knocking Martin out, and then maybe fight Evelyn or someone like that just to get the confidence up. So there you go. But yeah, Charles Martin. Charles Martin, how in God's name he managed to lose that Luis Ortiz fight is beyond me. He literally snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in that fight. He really did. He should not have lost that fight. How he lost that fight is beyond me. He snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. To be fair to Charles Martin, subsequently since the AJ fight, he has shown heart. Like against Kalnacki. He's got some wins, like against Washington. No, this is not an amazing win, but it's a win nonetheless. Maybe as a comeback opponent, but look, AJ looks to be fighting Tyson Fury. If he loses to Fury, he'll need some rehabilitation, definitely. Well, I think he needs it anyway, but if he carries on after Fury with 4 losses, 3 of them back-to-back, he'll need some serious rehab. He will need some serious rehabilitation fights. I'm talking maybe 5 or 6 of them, seriously. I know father time waits for no man, as the saying goes, and a lot of fighters want to make hay while the sun shines. I get that, but I can't help but feel there are certain fighters, now some of them have retired, but fighters like David Price, who they would have a comeback fight or 2 comeback fights and straight into a hard fight. I can't help but feel that in David Price's situation, maybe in AJ's as well, the more easy fights you have where you're learning little bits in it, even there's the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, the better they would have been. Or the better certainly David Price would have been. I'm not saying he would have won a world title or anything like that, but I think he needed confidence builders, and I think AJ needs confidence builders, and I think more confidence builders the better. So that's the way I'm looking at it. People, I'm going to leave that there. I hope you enjoyed Midweek Report. It's going out very late tonight, but I've got stuff on tomorrow, so I took the day off, so this one is going out late. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. If you could, as always, smash the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Help your boy out. For now, lads and lassies, of course, I'll talk to you. Peace.